right, so once again, everybody, welcome. First, I want to say happy in the US, happy first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. That is today in the United States, celebrating Hispanics, Latinos. So happy first day for those of you in the US and that celebrate that holiday. And once again, welcome to our first session that's kicking off our fall series of workshops. We've got much more coming later next month, so look out for those. And we'll share a link here in just a minute on how to get event information around our programs. So really quick, I just wanted to once again just introduce myself. My name is Mónica Isabel Martinez. I am the EDU content manager for Google. I specifically work under the Google for Education division and work on all kinds of content for educators as well as for the content that they're using with students. And you're going to actually see some of that here today. I'm also, like I mentioned earlier, the co-founder for this program, YCLL, putting on these workshop sessions in person as well as virtual for Latinas. And so me, along with a couple of others that have helped support this event, thank you for being here with us. Okay. So today's topic is around Be Internet Awesome, and that means a lot of different things. It means being safe. It means feeling confident in the content that you're putting out. It means making smart choices. Lots of things that it breaks down to. We're going to focus on a couple of things because otherwise this could be an entire week worth of workshops. So couple of things before we get started. I mentioned this earlier, but for those of you who just joined us, in case you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat to ask your questions. During our Q&A section, which we'll have in basically after we cover our section, we'll do a Q&A, then a section and a Q&A. During those times, and even maybe other times, I'll definitely pause and there'll be opportunity to come on with audio, video as well if you don't already have it on. And of course, you can continue to use the chat. There's also a raise hand option if you want to use that. Victoria and Alejandra are going to be monitoring the chat so they can help answer questions there as well. And they can also help tell me, Monica, wait, lots of questions around this, and then we can definitely pause and address those questions. The other housekeeping item, just to remind everyone, you saw that as you were coming into the room, this session is being recorded. And so at the end of this session, we're going to send a follow-up email with the recording when that becomes available. And that way you have the recording so you can watch it again in case you missed something, or if you came in, maybe for people coming a little bit late, they'll be able to catch up as well. And those recordings will be available for a little bit, not forever, because things change so much with technology. We obviously need to take them down and then update and do new stuff. So, but nonetheless, you'll get an email with the recording and with session resources as well. So you're going to get all of that in a follow-up email. All right, so here's the lay of the land. This is what's going to go on over the course of this session. We have 4 parts. We'll see how much we get to because I also want to be cognizant of answering all of your questions. So if there's more dialogue in one section, then we'll stick to it. But the idea is to cover 4 different sections. We're going to talk about what it means to be internet awesome and dive into some particular aspects of that. We're going to talk about safe browsing. We're going to specifically be looking at the Chrome navigator as well as social media. We're also going to touch base a little bit on YouTube Kids because I'm guessing that all of you probably either have a friend with a young infant, or maybe you have a sister or a brother, you have a cousin, a nephew, a niece, a grandchild. Someone probably within the age group of a toddler to about 8, 9, 10 years old, and the YouTube Kids curriculum and content is going to be applicable to them. And lastly, we'll finish up with Google Alerts. Google Alerts is a tool that Google offers, allowing you to be able to set up alerts that notify you when pretty much when something that you've specified is important to you, it basically sends a notification to your email so you're alerted about it. So we'll definitely cover that as well. Okay, so I'm going to kick it off with this video. It's just a really short video here that tells us a little bit about security.
Say it's all right. Say it's all right. It's all right. Have a good time, 'cause it's all right. Now listen to the beat.
Okay, so we're going to be looking at Google content, and you saw obviously on that video, there's a lot of different Google
Say
things.
it's all right.
That always happens. Well, there we go. All right, so so I wanted to share with you, starting off, just kicking off with the Be Internet Awesome content. Let me jump out and go back in. That's where we're going to start. So I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Be Internet Awesome, but you can raise your hand or put in the chat yes or no. Anyone who knows Be Internet Awesome tends to be fairly new for a lot of folks. So I want to dive in and share with you some of the areas that we're going to cover, but also let you know where you can find more information as well. So Be Internet Awesome covers basically 5 different areas that you see here on the screen. We're going to focus on the first 3. Think of it from the perspective of how can I be smarter, making better choices when I'm online? What things should I be aware of, like as far as scams and potential things that can do harm to me? And then also how to create better, like stronger passwords, for example, or things that help you protect you and your accounts. So we're gonna highlight the first 3 and then move on to some of the other stuff. So let me move on here. Okay, so we're gonna start with Be Internet Smart. So a really important skill to know is what is and isn't okay to share. Sometimes we go click happy and we're like, oh, share, or we see an article and we're like, oh, that sounds fun, or that's cute, and we reshare. Or how many times have you seen a meme or something funny and you're like, haha, let me share it. And so we just instantly start sharing things. So it's definitely important to pause and really think about what we're putting out there that's appearing in our account. So I'm going to give you a couple of quick examples of just some scenarios. So here comes the first one. All right, so in this particular case, there was a woman who had just gotten a job, 27-year-old woman, who was excited about being able to land a job and be able to work, but she wasn't necessarily thrilled about the actual job that she got. And on her Facebook account, she posted, I start my new job today, but I absolutely hate working at daycare. So via thumbs up, thumbs down in the chat, you tell me, is this good? Is this bad? You tell me, good, bad. Okay, so I'm seeing a couple of people with thumbs down. Some of you are like, oh,
There should, I think of the TikTok video where it's like, oh no, oh no.
yeah. So definitely in this case, so just an FYI, because this is, and thank you all of those using the chat icons with the thumbs down. This lady actually got fired. This is for real. I didn't make this up. It is a genuine example. This was a woman that was going to work at a daycare. The daycare found out about her post and fired her. Now, why do you think this is a bad example? Like, what makes this a bad example of things that you shouldn't be posting? Why is this bad? You can add in the chat your comment, or you can come on voice if you'd like. Why is this a bad example? It gives
because you're actually working for the daycare,
right,
and in a daycare, and you're saying that you don't like working in a daycare.
Yeah.
So why are you working there?
Right. So it was a bad judgment call, right? Thank you for that. I think that was Jackie. Yes, I think it was Jackie talking.
Yes.
And Sabrina, yes, it gives the daycare a bad reputation. It's like, really, like you're basically saying, like, I don't like kids, or I don't like working at a daycare, but you got a job at a daycare, and that obviously is going to give the daycare a bad reputation. So you're representing that company. And by the way, this lady didn't even work a day at all. Like, she had just gotten the job. She posted that and she got fired right away. She didn't even work one single day. All right, here's one more example. So this one comes out of Dallas, Fort Worth. This woman was frustrated because she had filled this huge to-go order and they didn't give her a tip. And this was at an Outback Steakhouse in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And she tweeted out, or no, she put it, I think it was Facebook. She wrote, a woman, or this is what the newscast said, a woman who vented her frustrations on social media about not getting a tip was fired. So this woman actually posted how angry she was, and she tagged the organization that had put in the to-go order. So she tagged them, they found out, they contacted Outback Steakhouse, and then they fired her. So good or bad? Yeah, pretty bad, right? I think this one's a given there. It's a bad example, but tell me why. Like, some people would argue, well, it's my personal account, it's my Facebook or my Instagram or my TikTok or my whatever. Like, why should I be fired for something that's mine and mine personally? I'm not saying Outback did anything wrong or blah, blah, blah. Like, what's the issue here? Why bad? Why is it bad?
Well, for one, it wasn't like she was visiting that business. She gave them a bad name, but she wasn't a customer getting business from them.
Right.
She was providing a service to them. Maybe the service was not good.
Right. That's true. She might have thought she did a good job, but you're right. Like, that may have been certainly the case. Karen says bad business for the restaurant. Absolutely. Once again, similar to the previous example, this woman is representing that restaurant. And so it's not just her own opinion. So definitely keep those things in mind. So let's just kind of unpack this a little bit. So what we're sharing externally versus what we might share internally, understanding the difference there in that perhaps things that we share internally, like with our family, our closest friends, trusted people, versus external stuff that is shared outside of our trusted circle. It's also important to think about online communication like as if it were face-to-face, from the perspective of, if it isn't right to say something in real life, it shouldn't be posted online either. And from a sort of different take is that, remember that when you post something online, it's like a permanent tattoo. Think of something that you maybe say, in person, more like a removable temporary tattoo, versus what you post online might be more permanent. And even though, yeah, I get that you can, now remove, actual tattoos, they still leave an imprint, and I still know that you had one, right? So think of it from that perspective, that what you post online is a lot harder to take down, even after it has actually been taken down. It may have been, somebody maybe took a screenshot of it. It may have already been reshared where it's no longer linked to the original post. So you really can't take it back once it's online. So definitely watch out for that. The other 3 basic rules that I'll share with you guys, this is really important. Be familiar with company social media policies, because remember that when you work for a company, you're not just representing yourself anymore. You are partly a voice of, especially if you're well known within that company and in sort of the social sphere. And you can replace company with anything else. Be familiar with school policies. Be familiar, like whatever school you're going to or whatever school you work for. Be familiar with organizations. If you belong to an organization or a club, be familiar with their social media policies, because they're also looking at social media accounts to see what it is that you're posting. Same thing with the second one. Keep this, could this keep me from getting a job in the future? Ask yourselves that before you post something, especially if you're already hesitant. And again, you could replace the word job with other things like, could this keep me from getting a scholarship in the future? Could this keep me from getting into a school in the future? So you can replace that word. Same thing with the last one. What would my grandmother think if I posted this? Think of it from that sense. Would you actually let your grandmother see what you're posting, or your mother, or your boyfriend, your partner, or your in-laws? Fill in the blank there. And if your answer to these questions are no, then that's a clear indication that we wouldn't want to post those. All right. Any other comments or questions on that before we move on to fake news? Okay. All right. Okay. So don't fall for fake content in general, not just news, but just content in general. So this is moving on to the second section, which is to be alert. So a really important skill to know is what is real and what is fake. And this one's a little bit harder, especially as technologies have gotten better at being able to recreate videos and graphics and imagery that look real. So I'm going to give you once again a couple of examples. So you tell me, is this real? Thumbs up. Fake? Thumbs down? Let me know. Is this real or fake? All right, so I'm seeing some thumbs up. I'm seeing some thumbs down. The thumb sideways, by the way, is an I don't know. That could be your I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on here. Okay. All right. So I saw some up, some down. All right. So I'm going to have you just carefully read what it says. The problem with quotes found on the internet is that they are often not true. And whose quote is this? Abraham Lincoln. Now, anyone know when the internet was invented? Definitely not when Abraham Lincoln was alive. So we know this is fake. This is fake because Abraham Lincoln wasn't around when the internet was invented, right? Like this is way past his time. But this is one of those things where it's almost so subtle that we don't quite catch it. But how many times are we retweeting or reposting or resharing content like this that is obviously in this case fake? Maybe this doesn't seem like it's all that harmful, but typically when we retweet and repost things like this that are posting fake things, it's more likely that people who follow you are going to believe what you're posting and believe even future things that you post that are even maybe worse. So definitely don't spread those. All right, so here's another one that I think makes it a little bit more obvious, but I wanted to throw this one in there to showcase how Photoshop and photo editing tools could be used to really manipulate imagery. And obviously here, an iPhone didn't exist during Abraham Lincoln's time. Once again, the quote says internet, which didn't exist during Abraham Lincoln's time. And if you look closely, really, it does look like somebody Photoshopped his head onto this person. The hand looks a little out of proportion. So there's definitely some clues in here on that one. Okay, here's another one. Real or fake? Thumbs up or down, real or fake? All right, so I'm seeing some thumbs down. Anyone else, real or fake or not sure? Okay, all right, mostly thumbs down is what I'm seeing on this one. Can anybody tell me why? Why do we think this is fake?
Amazon is misspelled in the.
That's right, yes. Yes, Noemi, thanks for catching that. So Amazon is misspelled. Amazon does not have an E at the end there. Therefore we know that this is fake. Now I want to point something out that as far as what's happening here. So let me jump out of the presentation here really quick. And I want to show you, let me go to a site. I need to hover over a link. So hold on one second while I navigate here onto something else that maybe has a link. I just need to find a page with a link on it. I have so many tabs open. How do I not have something with a link on it? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, hold on. I'm getting there. I just need to find something with a link. That's a clickable item, but not quite the kind of link I'm looking for. Come on. Give me a website with a link. This is a demo fail right now. Okay. All right. What I want to share with you is that usually what happens, oh, I know why I can't see it, because my screen was too far up. There we go. Okay. So down at the very bottom of my screen, see how that pop-up came up? It's hard to see, but there's a little pop-up. Whenever you hover over a link, a little pop-up at the bottom will show up that actually tells you what the link is. So you might be fooled, or they might be trying to fool you with what it says here, like, oh, win a prize. And you're like, oh, let me click on that. And you're not sure where it's coming from. Simply hover over the link. And you'll notice that when you hover over the link at the very bottom, it will give you where that link is coming from or where it's pointing to. So that's a good way, just kind of like a little trick for you to be able to see, okay, wait a second, like, is this a safe item to click on, yes or no? So just wanted to give you that little heads up there as a little tip that you can do to see that pop-up link as you can see it on this screen here. All right, let me move on. So what about this one, real or fake? Real or fake? And it might be a little hard to see everything in there, so it's kind of small. But just thumbs up, thumbs down, real or fake? All right, so I'm seeing some thumbs down, and yes, this is fake. Anyone know why? So once again, the URL, and again, I know this is hard to see, so some of you may have not been able to see it, but The web address is Facebook-profile-I6666-420.view, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, when you go to Facebook, it would be facebook.com, not Facebook-profile- da, 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 et cetera, right? So looking at the web address is a really great way to figure out if something is real or fake. All right, so just a couple of really quick things, knowing the signs of potential scams. So if the statement is all about you're winning something or you're getting something for free, it's most likely that it's not real. Nothing real, nothing authentic will ever ask you to give away personal information like your username, your password, your full social security number. All of those things are red flags. Definitely use that as a way to basically identify this isn't real. Look out for spelling and grammar errors. We just saw a couple of those examples. And lastly, examine the images, the videos, the links, the graphics. Ask yourself, does this look right? Is there something wrong with this? Does it look fake? And if so, that's a pretty clear indicator that it is fake. All right, so let's talk about email scams since we were kind of just talking about that now. There's a couple of things I want to share with you here. For starters, did you know $1.7 billion are stolen by email every year? That's a lot of money that scammers are getting from people who are falling for fake stuff, for scams on the internet. Did you know that 3.5 billion phishing emails are sent every day? Phishing emails are the ones that are basically saying, yeah, if you fill out this form, you'll be entered into a drawing to win potentially $1 million. And people are like, oh, this sounds great. And they fill it out, giving their information away. Phishing is sometimes also, I might not ask you for your username and password, but I might ask you for things like, well, your birthday, and maybe a street address, maybe, you know, your full name, because then I can maybe figure out what your password might be by asking you for the most common phrases that are used for creating passwords. And we'll talk about passwords here in just a little bit. But I did want to talk about email specifically, and I'm going to show you a couple of tips that you can use for those of you using Gmail. So I'm going to jump out, and these are the tips here. It's hovering over email addresses, which I'm going to show you here in a second. Marking suspicious emails that are that you know are like not good, mark them as spam and delete them right away. Paying attention to warning labels, I'll show you an example of that. And then being able to configure your ad settings so that you don't get a bunch of junk, which could be malware as well that's coming through. Okay, so a couple of quick things. So here's my email. And again, this is going to be probably a little hard to see, but let me see if I can zoom in here. I'm going to try and zoom in. Okay, so you see this email I have here that says work tips. Once again, in Gmail, you can hover over, before even opening up the email, you can hover over it and it'll let you know who it's coming from. And if this doesn't come from someone you know or someone you trust or an email you were expecting, or perhaps like, let's say it's maybe the bank where you bank at and you know that web address, then you know it's safe. But if it's not coming from anyone you know and you hover over like this, you're like, that doesn't sound right. You can select that item without ever opening it. And you'll notice up here at the top, there is a little, it's like the stop sign with the exclamation point. You click on that and it'll report it as spam. And you should no longer get emails from that account. You can also delete it directly from here. So you click the little trash can and then that email will get deleted. Gmail is really great at being able to already catch spam mail so that it doesn't even come into your inbox. So you'll notice on the left-hand side, there is a section for spam. And here you can see like, oh my gosh, like look at all this spam that Gmail is catching for me. And it's basically just going to get rid of it after 30 days. It just throws it into the trash bin, it deletes it forever. So I don't have to actually see these that are coming through. Like here's one, it says Carolina Barrera. I'm like, I don't even know who that is. Oh, that's coming from Nissan. Well, nonetheless, it's coming through as spam messaging, right? So here's one in this email, private for us to discuss, and it looks like $7 million in business. Oh my God, like, yeah, no, all of this spam, spam, spam. So you do have a spam folder where Gmail takes care of a lot of that content for you, leaves it in there for 30 days on purpose in case you do get an email from someone that, you know, should have come to me or to you. And so you can recover it. So you have 30 days to be able to go into your spam folder, see what's in there, recover anything you need, but then let it either take care of itself and delete, or you can select all and hit the delete forever button right up here at the top. Okay. All right, any questions on that part? Let Gmail work for you. It does a great job at taking care of a lot of this for you. So definitely take advantage of that. One other thing I want to show you here while I'm in Gmail, I'm going to go up to my settings over here at the right-hand side. It's the little gear up here at the top right. Just below that, it says see all settings. I want to show you that from the main menu where it lands when you jump into your settings, there is a section in here, almost down to the very bottom, that says important signals for ads. You can view and change your preferences here. And so I'm going to click on that. And it's going to take me here where I can personalize or not personalize ads. This allows you to customize ads that you get based on your personal preferences. It's totally up to you if you want to turn this on or off. By turning it on, you're going to designate things like, yeah, these are the things about me, and I want you to only send me ads that are related to me. If you don't want that on, you can leave it, you can have it off so that it just sends you random ads. The difference is if you have it on, it's collecting information and sharing that with, not directly with who's doing the ads, but it's matching data on the back end to say, oh, this person likes this company sells this, it's a match, let's send her an ad. That's if you have it on. If you don't have it on, any ads that businesses do with Google, you're going to see them. So it's totally up to you how you want to manage that. So it's either matching to you or it's not matching to you, but Google is not giving away your information to anyone. It's on the back end where a company purchases an ad or gives and puts out an ad, and they mark criteria. We want to send this to Latinas, ages 25 to 35, that live in the United States. And if you meet that criteria, you'll get that ad. Okay, so that's how that works there. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back to the presentation here. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. All right, so that was a little bit on emails, but once again, if you're using Gmail, you're heavily protected, but you still should hover over any suspicious emails that are coming through to see who it's coming from. Okay. All right, so let's talk about passwords. So anyone here familiar with, so the most used passwords, does anybody know? Kind of just glanced, I hit the next button without meaning to. Anyone know what is the most used password? A birthday, okay.
Password.
The word password, okay. Anyone else? Password 1, 2, 3. Yeah. All right, so pretty much most of those, yeah, you're going to see on this list, the top 10. Yep, there we go, Lorena. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is number 2. So Lorena spot on there. The word password, who was that? Was that, I think it was Jackie that said it, maybe. And Karen also said password 1, 2, 3. All of those super common, most used passwords. And you can see on here, it took people who hack into systems, it took them less than a second to be able to hack into their accounts and obviously do harm. In addition to that, the most common password types include personal names, birthdays, anniversary days, and pet names. And earlier, somebody said birthday. So Alejandra, yes, birthdays are very, very common. So you don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to, but think about this. How many of us use any of these phrases as part of our passwords? Personal names, birthdays, anniversaries. Yep. Some of you are like laughing. Yep. I'm definitely guilty of some of these myself. So we have to be really careful because the people who are out there trying to do harm, they know this because majority of people use these very same things to create passwords. So if these bad people out there, they're called hackers. If they're trying to do harm, they're going to know that to use. That's why phishing kind of scams are bad, because they're just sending you messages and saying, oh, all you have to give us is just your name and your birthday to enter this, this giveaway. And you're thinking, well, that's not too bad, right? Well, they might be phishing for you to give them that information so that they can figure out your password. So be really careful when giving out that info. All right, so how to create a strong password. So a couple of things here. Make it memorable, yes, but avoid using personal information, because obviously the challenge is, oh, I have to remember this password, right? or you know, this combination of letters and so forth, but try to avoid personal information. Use a mix of uppercase and lowercase, as well as symbols, different characters. So you can see some examples there on the screen. And then do not use the same password for every website. I know it's challenging because you're like, how am I supposed to remember so many different passwords? Well, I'm going to show you how here in just a second. Before I do, let me jump over to share this with you. So don't write your passwords down. I won't make you raise your hand, but I know people who will write down their passwords and will put it right next to the computer or right next to the device, so anybody could actually get into their accounts. You know, even when you use like notebooks or things like that, what if you lose that notebook? It's in somebody else's hands, so definitely avoid that. And if you do ever share your password for whatever reason and you suspect that it's been compromised, change it immediately. Okay, you see that I have where it says use a password manager link there. I'm going to click on that link because I do want to show you that within your Google account, you can actually jump over into this password manager that's going to keep all of your, it's going to keep all of your passwords in one spot, digitally secured. And so from your account, it's passwords.google.com is how you get there. When you're logged into your Google account, it'll take you here and it will show you all of your different, you know, passwords and so forth that you have for all the accounts. So if you're using Google Chrome as your navigator and you're logged in, you know how there's always sort of this pop-up that shows up that says, do you want to save this account? If you say yes and you save it, it'll save it for you so that the next time you're logging into something, it'll show up and you can say, yes, that's the password, or you click on OK and you log right back in. So it saves it for you. And guess what? When you're like, oh, I don't remember that password, you click on that item and yes, you have to actually type in your password to confirm that it's you that's trying to get to this page. And then it'll show you what the password is. Now, by default, it hides it. Right here, you can see it actually has a little eye showing you that that's hidden. But if I were to click on that, you'd be able to see this password here. So this keeps all of your passwords. So I don't have to worry about writing any of these down. And look at how many I have. There's no way I would ever remember all of these username and passwords. It's just no way. There's just way too many on this list. On here, again, you can jump into any one of those at any point. And you're like, wait, you know, I don't remember like my Hertz, you know, password. Once again, all you have to do is click on this little eye here and it'll reveal what that password is. But, you know, this is being recorded and you all can see, so I'm not going to reveal my password there. But this saves all of them for you. And this is behind a firewall. This is highly secure. So you don't have to worry about this here. So it's way better than putting it on a piece of paper. That's for sure. Okay, so that was password. That was the whatchamacallit, let me go down. That was the password account manager under Google. And we'll make sure to give you that link so that you guys are good to go with that. Okay, so that was a little bit about Be Internet Awesome. So Victoria is going to drop in the link in the chat for you guys so that you can get to that link here. So it's the Be Internet Awesome. This comes with curriculum. You're going to be able to find, for those of you on here who are educators working with students, with parents, there is an entire curriculum available. It's the Be Internet Awesome curriculum, as well as the Interland game for so you can see the little game that some of these kids are playing. So for the younger kids, really like upper elementary, early junior high, there's a game you can play to learn all these different tips, but at that reading level, at that, you know, level of understanding. For those of us who are older, there's all kinds of curriculum and more on what we just covered, plus way more than we weren't going to cover here today. So a lot in there. I also want to point out that, you know, from here, you can actually get the curriculum. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen here just really quick for a second so you can see. So they do also have an actual booklet that you can get. So those of you educators, or if you're interested, this booklet is available in English and in Spanish. So you just flip it. And then the back has everything in Spanish, and then the front has everything in English. So those of you who are educators or you're interested in having this, this is available. It even comes with like all kinds of, I have all kinds of stuff here. Hold on. comes with stickers as well. And it's like, it's just, you know, a whole bunch of cool, fun stuff that's a part of that, that particular program. Any questions on the Be Internet Awesome content? Anything that we covered, how to be safe? Any comments, questions on that before we move on? Okay. All right, then I'm going to move on to the next section, which is going to be on browsing. So a couple of browsing tips I'm going to share with you here fairly quickly. This is all around using, if you're using Google Chrome, I'm going to show you a couple of quick things. So as you can see on my screen, I am on Chrome right now. If you click on up at the top right, there are these three little dots at the corner. I'm just going to jump into my settings. I highly recommend using Chrome or whatever navigator you use to always look for your privacy and security settings, which I have here. I'm just going to jump into that. So I'm just clicking right through so that I can get to just the different privacy and security settings. So, okay, once I get here, I'm just going to go to security. And I just wanted to show you one thing from this screen here that's going to be valuable. If you don't already have it configured, this is something to certainly consider. You have three options for safe browsing inside of Google Chrome. So one is called enhanced protection. So this is the most protective one out of the three. It's more proactive against dangerous websites, downloads, and extensions, warns you about password breaches, requires that browsing data be sent to Google. So it's constantly communicating to Google saying, hey, you know, these things are not safe, and Google will take care of removing those items. So definitely more. It predicts and warns you about dangerous content as you're getting it, keeps you safe on Chrome, improves security in general, and warns you if your password is exposed in some way. I have mine set to standard protection, which is still pretty good. It still protects you in different ways. It detects and warns you about dangerous events or things that are happening. It checks URLs up against a list of unsafe sites that's stored in Chrome. And so it just doesn't let those pop up anymore. And if a site is trying to steal my password, or if I'm downloading something harmful, it actually notifies me before I'm able to actually download something. So it gives me that notification. So I really like that. That's the one that I have turned on. And you can control other things like, okay, I do want this one, but I don't necessarily want to give that feedback over to Google. You can turn that off if you don't want your data saying I was on this site and it was dangerous. Because it says I was on it, you know, if you don't feel comfortable with that data going back to Google, you can turn that part off. And then the last one here is no protection. I do not recommend selecting that. I highly recommend at least the enhanced or the standard one. Now, the other thing I wanted to share with you, and this is also going to be a little hard to see because of where it's at in my browser. But up at the very top left-hand side where you type in a web address, if you're in Chrome, and let's say I go to, let's just go to Amazon.com, for example, you'll see that there's a little lock icon right next to the web address. If you're going to, let's say, I'm going to type in Wells Fargo, it also gives me a lock. There are some sites that won't give you the little lock icon. That lock icon is letting you know that that is a secure website. The other thing that lets you know it's secure is in front of it, you'll see where it says HTTPS, and the S, and let me go back to our presentation so you know what I'm talking about. The S in the web address is what lets you see that there's a security protocol that's attached to it. So you see right here on the presentation, so it's look for the lock. There's just a little icon of a lock, and look for it to say HTTPS in the web address. If it has that S in there, it's letting you know there's extra security protocols in place on that web address, better securing the data that's moving between your computer and that website. If it does not have an S, that's letting you know there is no extra security. It doesn't mean, hey, this is absolutely a scam. It just means that the data that's being transferred between you and that website is not as safe as it could be. So definitely watch out and be careful with that. For those of you on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, any of the social media sites, all social media sites have privacy settings. It's important for you to go into these and make sure that you're making choices that are based off of your preferences and what you think would be best for you. A lot of times people don't even bother looking. We just take it for granted. We think, no worries, not a problem. And we just go on and do our thing and don't bother with setting up any kind of security. Let's go to Facebook really quick. Couple of things once again to remind you, Facebook has the little lock icon up there at the top. And if you look at the web address, it has HTTPS. So we know that the site there is certainly secure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my account here. And I'm going to go into settings and privacy. And then there is a privacy checkup that you can activate from here. And this will take you to this page where you're able to see, let me zoom in there. You're able to go in and see who can see what you share, how to keep your account secure, how can people find you on Facebook, how basically adjust your data settings on Facebook and your ad preferences on Facebook as well. This is important here because you're dictating how your data appears on Facebook and who's able to see that data, who's not able to see that data. There's quite a few screens in here, but I highly recommend that you go through this and that you make choices and understand how your information is being handled by Facebook and what they actually share with ads or with companies, etc. Here's the other one that just basically making adjustments to your ad preferences on Facebook. So anytime you either like something, view something, comment on something, or share something, that data is being collected, and that data sits on a database where if I buy an ad on Facebook, it is cross-referenced with your data to see if there's a match. If there's a match, it'll send you a video or my ad or my whatever I was sharing. So you can actually come in here, go through these pages and make adjustments to the content that's available to see, as well as what your preferences are. So who can see your social interactions alongside the ads? You get to adjust that. I have it set to only me. Okay. So definitely make adjustments there. Really important. It's the same thing with Instagram. Any Instagram users in here? I use Instagram as well as
I have a
Facebook.
question.
Yes.
Before
yes.
you go into another section, they're on Facebook. The checkup. It's only if you go on the actual like website, not the app, right?
Right. You have to be on your website account. Yes. Thank you, Jackie. Great question. Yeah. So you want to go to facebook.com on a computer. You go to your page, and then over here on the right-hand side is where you'll see this drop-down menu to be able to get to settings and privacy. Now you can get to settings and privacy on the phone as well. It's just a different route. So you can still.
Yes, because I only saw the privacy shortcuts and not the privacy check. I check right now on the app.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, so similar in Instagram, you go to your profile icon and you'll see a settings option. And in here, you also have on the left-hand side, privacy and security to be able to check on all of the content regarding your what is actually showing up, what isn't showing up. Even things like activity status. Some people don't realize that, oh, other people know exactly when I'm connected. Like, do you want them to know yes or no? You can uncheck that if you don't want people to know that you're connected at a certain time. Story sharing. Do you allow other people to share your stories as messages? You can uncheck that and not allow your content to be reshareable. You can make adjustments to comments, photos, how photos of you are handled. If somebody else posts a photo and wants to tag you, you can make all those kinds of adjustments based on how you want your information handled. So again, the idea here is that you're aware and that you make conscious choices about how your information is being handled about you. Any other questions on social media and those privacy settings on browsing, Chrome browsing? Any questions, comments? All right. Okay, let's keep going then. All right. So next I'm going to share a little bit about YouTube Kids. So just by show of hands, I just want to get a feel for how many of you either have a nephew, a niece, or you have a friend with a young child, or you're a grandparent, or you've got, you teach kids, young kids. Okay, so I'm seeing some thumbs up. Okay, so anyone here who knows any child that would be between roughly preschool, like, you know, more or less 4 years old, all the way up to about 8+. If you know anyone within that age group, this is an app that you can recommend to either the parents, or you can put it on the device if you happen to, you know, have access to that device. So it's called YouTube Kids. So yeah, I just want to share a couple of things with you about this particular application. It's an app specific to YouTube videos, but as you all know, my gosh, there's so much content out there on YouTube, definitely things we wouldn't want kids between this age group of 4 years old, roughly, or even 3 and 2, all the way to about 9, 10 years old. We wouldn't want them seeing everything that's on YouTube, right? So this app is going to be great for helping filter, and it's available for those of you who have smart TVs where you can actually pop open apps on your TV. It's available for smart TVs. It's also available directly on the web, so you can go to youtubekids.com. It's available for tablets like iPads or Samsung tablets, and also mobile devices. So your iPhones as well as your Samsung phones. It's available across all of these different tools. And then if I move on here, so a couple of things that it has. So you're able to set up a profile. So let's say I have one child that is 4 and then another one that is maybe 7. They can watch very different things, and maybe they have different preferences. So I can set up profiles for my children or my kids or my nephews, etc. Right? You can set up different profiles for them. And when you set up a profile and you indicate the age, it'll give you pre-curated content that is already been deemed acceptable for those different grade levels. So preschool, younger, and then older kids. And then it's gonna auto-populate content for you from trusted partners. So there's a lot of content that exists that is already available there in sort of those different age groups. And if there's anything in there that you don't like, you can also remove a particular partner. So like, let's say there's a particular one that you're like, ooh, Sesame Street, no, not to say that about Sesame Street, but you get my idea. Like if you were to say a whole like partner of content, you're like, no, we don't want to watch that. Or even just an individual video, you could definitely take it down if you don't like all of the content that came with that pre-curated content that was filtered in for you. The other thing too is that you can set screen limits on it. So if you say, okay, I'm going to give you 30 minutes, you set it to 30 minutes, at 30 minutes, it locks up and they can no longer watch YouTube. So it does let you control that. You are able to set a timer in that app. And Tori, if you can drop in the link for me there. So this link is youtube.com/kids. Again, this is an app that you can display on multiple devices. If there are any questions, once again, we have Alejandra supporting in Spanish. For those of you who need to ask a question in Spanish in the chat, please feel free to do that. And Tori's also there to help in English if needed. And there is the link that Tori just dropped in the chat if you want to jump directly there. Okay, so that was a little bit of YouTube Kids. I'm going to move on then to our last item on our list is around Google Alerts. So this is really simple, just a really simple thing. It is a tool, and let me jump over. Here we go. All right, so it's google.com/alerts. Tori, if you want to drop that link in as well. Once you're logged into your Google account, you just type in google.com/alerts. And Tori's going to drop the link in here in just a second. And then when you get there, you basically just set up an alert for whatever you want to be alerted on. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see. This is what I have set up for myself. So what happens here is when you set up an alert. So I set up an alert for my name, Monica Isabel Martinez. I set up an alert for my email address, mimg1225@gmail.com. And no, that's not a birthday nor an anniversary. I was careful with that number. But maybe not so much with my name, right? But this is my email address. And so what I've done is I've basically told Google, I've said, whenever you see the email address mimg1225@gmail.com, I want you to email me a notification and show me where this is showing up. The same thing for just my full name, Monica Isabel Martinez. Because I'm connected in the education space, in the technology space, I want to make sure that no other people confuse me with any other Monica Isabel Martinez, because my name's pretty common. And there are other Monicas out there that maybe, you know, are doing bad things. And I want to make sure that if that is the case, that I'm at least aware so that I can let, you know, important people know, hey, that is not me. Or even if I'm applying for other jobs or things like that, that I make note of, you know, there are other Monicas out there in case you're Googling me to find out more about me as an individual. Please be aware, this is not me. And I can link to those things. So these are alerts that you can set up to monitor the web for those particular topics. So you just simply come in here when you get there to that site, you come in here and let me delete this one and we'll just do that one. So if I wanted to monitor the name Monica Isabel Martinez, I just type it in and then say create alert. And that's it. It's that simple. Then in the gear, for any of the alerts that you have here in the gear, I'm going to click on the little gear up here at the top right. You decide the delivery time, as well as if you prefer to receive just in one single email alerts for everything that you have on your list. So I say delivery time and I tell, okay, at this time of this day, or at this time of the day, I want to be alerted if there's anything to alert me on, right? If there's nothing to alert you on, you don't get an email. Or if you don't want a delivery and you prefer a digest means that all of them are going to come to you at the same time on any of those items to the email address that you've specified or the email address you're currently using. And you can say at most once a day or at most once a week. Maybe you only want to monitor this once a week. So you set it to once a week and then you click save. And from here on out, you'll receive any alerts if there are any around the topics that you have specified. Okay, so it's that simple. That's how that section there works. Any questions on alerts before I move away from that? Okay, all right, I'm going to go back here. So just coming back to the presentation here, just this very same steps that I just talked about are outlined on here. So you go to alerts.google.com, you enter your search criteria or the term of what you're wanting to search for, you set the delivery times, and it's good to go. That's all you have to do to get those active. It's good to keep track of like what's being said, especially if it's, you know, specifically about you, your email address. It's always good to keep track of those things. And why not let Google Alerts take care of that for you? Okay, so we are about 4 minutes before the end here. We are going to do the feedback form next. So Victoria is going to drop in the link in the chat so that you guys can fill out that.